Stories from Upanishads and Puranas, retold by Arghya Goswami. Dear friends and listeners, how are you today? This is my first story from the Purans, and as I told you all last time in my channel, I will narrate stories from both Purans and Upanishads. Without wasting too much time, let me take you all to my today's story. This story is taken from Markandeya Purana. It is called Story of Four Birds, Pingaksha, Vibhoda, Supatra and Sumukha. This Puran was narrated by the great sage Markandeya to sage Jaimini, hence this name Markandeya Puran. Rishi Jaimini asked Rishi Markandeya about the sacred text of Bharata. On the side note to all my viewers, Bharata was the earlier name of our greatest Itihasa Mahabharata. To be very precise, when sage Vedavyas wrote the sacred text, he named it as Jaya, which contained around 25,000 verses. And then, when sage Vedavyas recited this holy text to his disciples, one of these disciples, Rishi Vaisampana, then again recited the text to other sages, including sage Suta Goswami. While doing so, he called it Bharata or descendants of Bharata. Sage Suta Goswami then recited the text for the third time to various sages in the sacred Naimisharanya forest, which is located along the banks of river Gomti in Sitapur district of modern-day Uttar Pradesh. There, while narrating, the great sage added teachings and messages about the events of Mahabharata, and the text eventually became Mahabharata, which means the tales of the descendants of Bharata, and it contained over 100,000 verses. The poem is divided into 18 sections or parvas, plus a supplement titled Harivamsha, genealogy of Lord Hari. Although it is highly unlikely that one single author had written this great text, however, it must be noted that traditionally the authorship is accredited to sage Vedavyasa. That was the story how our greatest Itihasa named Jaya became Bharata and eventually became Mahabharata. So this gives us an indication of the period when this Puran was written. Perhaps it was written during some time the retelling or recitation of Bharata by the great sage Vaisampayana to sage Suta Goswami and others. Let's come back to our story, the story of four birds from Markandeya Purana. Rishi Jaimini asked Rishi Markandeya several questions related to Bharata. He asked, if Vasudeva was Param Brahma, who runs the universe, then why did he take birth in human form? Why did Dhrupa's daughter Krishna or Draupadi marry 5 Pandavas? Why did Balaram kill a Brahman, Lomaharshana, with his plough and go to a Tirtha? Why were all sons of Draupadi murdered, even when the Pandavas of superhuman strength were present? Rishi Markandeya was about to initiate the austerities for the day, so he advised Rishi Jaimini to ask about the sacred text and all his intriguing questions to the 4 birds named Pingaksha, Vibhoda, Supatra and Sumukha, who reside in a cave in the middle of the Vindhya mountains. Rishi said that these birds are sons of Drona and possess knowledge of Veds and truth about the sacred text. He also told him that these birds can talk in human voice. Rishi Jaimini was surprised to hear this. He immediately asked who is this person Drona and how he had sons of inferior species such as birds. How did these birds possess the knowledge of Vedas, Dharma and truth about Bharata, which is extremely difficult to attain? How can they talk in a human voice? Then Rishi Markandeya narrated a story to Rishi Jaimini. In earlier times, in the garden of Nandana, which was a pleasure garden of Devraj Indra, the king of gods, Indra enjoying the dance concerts of various Apsaras and celestial maidens. During that moment, Devarshi Narada came to Nandana. As soon as Indra saw Devarshi approaching him, he got up from his seat and welcomed him with utmost respect. On seeing that their king is showing such respect to the sage, all Apsaras also bent down in respect. After some conversation, Indra offered Narada to command any of his Apsara such as Rambha, Karkasha, Urvashi, Tilottama, Ghritachi or Menaka to dance. Narad looked at the Apsaras, bent down before him in all humility and said, "Among all of you, whoever thinks herself to be superior in beauty, generosity and qualities may dance in front of me." As soon as the sage placed his condition, all the Apsaras demanded that she was best and started arguing with each other. Looking at such a ruckus created in the holy Nandana, Indra intervened and said, "Let the Devarshi decide who among the Apsaras is superior in qualities." This command from Devaraj has put Devarshi in a spot, but he was witty and intelligent, and he devised a competition quickly. He said, "Rishi Durvasa performing austerities on Mount Pralaya. If any of you has courage and force to agitate him, you will win this competition of superiority. She will be judged as superior to all others in quality." As soon as the Apsaras heard of Maharshi Durvasa, they were scared and didn't dare to participate in the competition. As Devarshi thought that it was all over, suddenly an Apsara named Vapu came forward. This surprised everyone in the garden of Nandana. Vapu said, "O great sage, I am capable of agitating the great sage Durvasa. I will go to the mountain where the sage resides. The sage has controlled his body, which is like a chariot, and has reined his senses, which are like horses. However, the weapon of love will make him lose his reins and render him a bad charioteer. Even Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh cannot stop me from piercing his heart with the arrows of love." Saying this, Apsara Vapu leaves for Mount Pralaya. When she reached the mountain, she witnessed that all the dangerous beasts were peaceful due to austerities of the sage. She remained about 1 crore or about 2 miles away from the sage. Then, using her magical powers, she assumed the voice of a male cuckoo and started to sing sweetly. Sage heard the sweet song of the bird and was surprised. He followed the sound and reached the place where the beautiful Apsara was present. Seeing her unparalleled beauty, Maharshi controlled himself and composed his thoughts and mind. Using his austerities, he came to know that the Apsara was there to agitate him. This made him furious. In a fit of rage, he cursed her. "O evil-minded one, you have come here to cause me unhappiness and create obstacle in my meditation. By doing this, you have brought misery on yourself. I curse you to be born in a race of birds for 16 years. You will give up your beautiful form and take a form of a bird. You will have 4 sons. However, you will be purified by a weapon and return to heaven again and will not have any delight from your sons." Saying this, the sage ascended to the heaven. Then Rishi Markandeya said to Rishi Jaimini, "Rishi Kashyap, whose another name was Arishtanemi, had a son named Garur from his wife Vinita. He was king of birds. Garur had a son named Sampati. Sampati's son was brave Suparsha." Friends, here I would like to draw your attention to a small discrepancy which we observe across our scriptures. In Valmiki Ramayana, we find that Jatayu and Sampati were brothers and son of Garur's brother Aruna. However, in Markandeya Purana, we find that Sampati is Garud's son. Well, coming back to the story, Suparshva's son was Kunti and his son was Pralulupa. Pralulupa had 2 sons, Kanaka and Kandhara. Kanaka once flew to the top of Mount Kailasha. On the summit, he saw a Rakshasa named Vidyarupa. He was drinking and was wearing sparkling garlands and garments. He was in the middle of spending some intimate moments with his wife Madanika, who was Apsara Menka's daughter. Kanaka flew right over them and disturbed the couple. Rakshasa was filled with rage as soon as he saw Kanaka. He demanded an explanation from the great bird on the purpose of his untimely visit. Challenged Kanaka replied that this Kailash belongs to everybody. This meant with the Rupa angry while Kanaka was still speaking to him, and out of anger he killed Kanaka with his sword. Kanaka's younger brother Kandhara came to know about his elder brother's death. He was mad with rage. He wanted to have his revenge, so he flew to the summit of Mount Kailasha where the dead body of Kanaka was lying. After retrieving it, he performed his brother's last rites. Then he went to the place where Vidyudrupa was intimate with his beautiful wife. Daughter of Menaka's voice was as sweet as the voice of the male cuckoo bird. Rakshasa looked terrible. His face and eyes were coppery red. His teeth looked terrible. Kandhara cried out in anger and challenged the Rakshasa to a fight. So was the gust of winds generated from the flapping of his great wings. The mountain started to tremble. Kandhara cried out again, calling him the killer of his brother. He challenged him to a fight, demanded his death as he violated the trust of his brother. Vidyudrupa was insulted in presence of his wife. He was angry. He wrote that he has displayed manliness by killing Kanaka. He showed him the sword using which he killed the bird and cried out that he would kill Kandhara using the same. Following this exchange of heated conversation between the great bird and Rakshasa, a fierce violent duel erupted. It felt as if it was a fight between Garuda and Indra over the kalash or pot of Amrita or nectar. The fight intensified as the great bird was able to snatch away the sword of the Rakshasa using a sharp pointed beak like Garuda seizing a serpent. Then Kandhara broke the sword using his beak and talons. Weaponless Rakshasa went to fight the great bird in hand-to-hand combat. However, he was no match for the great bird as he was torn to pieces by sharp beak and talons. Witnessing such a violent duel between the great bird and her husband, which ended with her husband's death, Madanika was scared and sought Kandhara's refuge. She proposed to be his wife. Thus Kandhara took her with him after avenging his brother's death. Daughter of Menaka, Madanika could take any form at will. Having gone with Kandhara, she took the form of a bird. There through Kandhara she gave birth to a daughter named Tarakshi. She was none other than the beautiful Apsara Vapu. Thus, due to the curse of sage Durvasa, Apsara Vapu was born as Tarakshi in the form of a bird. Sage Mandapala had married a Sangrika bird named Jarita. The couple had 4 brilliant sons. They were excellent Brahmins. Jaritari was the eldest, followed by Sariksha, Stambhamitra and Drona. Drona was the youngest son of sage Mandapala and Jarita. He followed Dharma and accomplished in all Vedas and Vedangas. When Drona grew up, he married Tarakshi. After some time, Tarakshi conceived. However, fate drew her. She flew over to Kurukshetra when she was 7 fortnights pregnant. On the battlegrounds of Kurukshetra, a fierce war between Pandavas and Kauravas was going on. Destiny drew her right into the battlefield where Tarakshi witnessed kings fighting kings, brothers fighting brothers, Shower of arrows and spears and clanging of swords and shields made the battleground deafening and horrific. She witnessed a duel between Bhagadatta and Kiriti. Just on the side note, Bhagadatta fought on behalf of Kauravas and was son of Narakasura and king of Pragyajyotisha. He was a renowned warrior, especially skilled in elephant warfare. He was successful in defeating many Maharathis in one-to-one battle. He was even successful in displacing Arjun's crown before attaining Veergati. Kiriti is another name for Arjun, as he is called by many names such as Phalgun, Jishnu, Partha, and Kiriti. He was named Kiriti because Indra placed a celestial crown on Arjun's head. Now, coming back to the story, Tarakshi witnessed the sky covered in incessant arrows, just like locusts flying over the crop farm. Finally, from Gandiv, Arjuna's bow, a broad headed arrow similar to a serpent came flying and pierced her belly. The arrow had ruptured Tarakshi's stomach from side, due to which the 4 eggs with complexion of moon fell on the pile of flesh and mutilated bodies. Just that moment, another arrow from Gandiv detached the giant bell tied around the neck of Bhagdatta's war elephant Supratika and fell on the 4 eggs, covering it safely from all 4 sides. Just to add, Supratika was the elephant of Bhagdatta, and once on the 12th day of the war, when Bhim was on a killing spree and killed several elephants with his powerful mace, Supratika crushed Bhim's chariot and grabbed him by trunk round his neck. However, Bhim managed to escape the chokehold. Yudhishthira directed another warrior named Dasara to attack Bhagdatta with his elephant brigade, but Supratika killed Dasara's elephant, and this gave Bhim to escape the scuffle. Shortly afterwards, Arjun was able to slay Bhagdatta, and the war continued for a few more days. And once it was over, Yudhishthir, son of Dharma, went to Bhishma, who was lying on the bed of arrows, and got lessons on Dharma. The great sage Shamik was passing by the battlefield and heard the chirping of the birds coming from the giant bell. He went near the bell and lifted it to investigate it. He was greatly surprised to see 4 little birds happily chirping underneath the bell. Sage was filled with wonder. Then other Brahmins and followers of the great sage asked Shamik about the birds, who made the eggs fall on the pile of flesh and bodies and at the same time cover it safely with a bell, who caused this ground soft with blood, fat and flesh. These birds don't seem to be ordinary ones. Their destiny has favored them, which indicates that they are extremely good fortune. Then Shamik advised that they should take these birds with them to their hermitage and keep them safe, that has no fear from any threat or predators. Any excessive care is not required, as everyone will live as per their karma and deeds. It is the same for these little birds. On hearing these, the sages followed Shamik's advice and picked the birds and went to the hermitage. Hermitage was engaged in pious rituals and sacrificial rites in honor of Mahavishnu, the wielder of Sudarshan Chakra, Rudra, Brahma, Indra, Vaivatsa, Agni, Varun, goddess Saraswati, goddess Mahalakshmi, Pavan, Dhatri, Vidhatri and Vishwadevas. Then sage Markandeya told sage Jaimini birds by giving them shelter, food and water, and protected them from predators and rough meadows. In the next month, the birds started to fly. They rose high in the air, able to see the cities, water bodies and various rivers. After their flight, they returned to the hermitage. The birds thanked the sages for saving them and providing them with shelter and food. They regard Shamika to be their father and preceptor. They told the sage that their mother died while they were still in the womb, nor they were protected by their father. The sage was one who gave them life and protected them from the terrible battlefield by lifting the elephant's bell. As the time passed, the birds grew up one day and spoke in human voice and asked the sage, "Having grown up, we have come before you, O father. Having become wise, what shall we do?" Shamik was surprised to hear such articulated question from birds in a human voice. With all his disciples surrounding him, Shamik asked the birds, "O children, tell me the truth. How can you speak? What is the reason behind it? Is it someone's curse that given you such power? Please tell us." Then the birds replied to the sage, "There used to be an excellent sage by the name Vipuswat. He had two sons, Suriksha and Tumburu. We were four sons of Suriksha. We were always humble, faithful, submissive in our behavior towards the Rishi. Our father Suriksha was devoted to performing austerities and controlled all his senses. We did whatever he wanted us to do. We brought kindling and flowers, decorated the altars, did everything else required for the sacrifices and rituals. Then one day Indra took a form of a gigantic bird with broken wings and arrived in the hermitage. He was old, hungry and scared. The bird told the Rishi, "Oh Rishi, I am famished. You should feed me and save me. I have lost my strength and memory, and my senses are fragile, and now I am starving and in your refuge. Please save me, O Brahman. Please feed me some food." The Rishi asked the bird, "O bird, tell me, what food do you desire?" Indra, in form of a bird, replied, "I relish human flesh." Rishi replied, "O bird, humans generally lose all their desires when their age is ripe. You seem to be old, so why do you have such cruel intentions? Now that you are in the last stage of your life, why do you intend to eat human flesh? However, I will give you what I have promised you." Saying this, Rishi called his sons and praised their qualities. All four sons of Suriksha stood with folded hands. Rishi said, "The bird is hungry and has sought to refuge with me. At least for some time, let him be satisfied with your flesh. Ensure that his hunger is satisfied by your flesh and thirst of your blood." As soon as the four sons listened to their father's wish, and in trembling with fear told the Rishi, "This is not possible. Who will give up their own body for someone else's hunger? If one destroys it, one not only destroys oneself but also one's sons too. A son repays debt that is due to ancestors, gods and humans. Therefore we will not do this. If one is alive, one can perform austerities, and when one dies, the body is destroyed and all dharma is extinguished. So one who knows about dharma must also protect oneself from all possible way." Rishi was extremely angry after listening to this from his sons and cursed him to be born as birds. And then he told Indra in the form of bird that he would perform his own funeral rite, and once he is dead, the bird can feed on his flesh. Then he said, "It is said that a Brahmana remains Brahmana as long as he walks in the path of truth. He obtains great merits in protecting the truth and not through yajnas and dakshinas and performing other rites." Hearing this, Indra in form of bird was surprised and said, "O Rishi, resort to yoga and give up your life, as I cannot eat human who are alive." Hearing this, the sage resorted to yoga. Seeing the determination, Indra came back to his original form and said, "O great Rishi, I took the form of bird to test you. Since you have sought to protect the truth of your words, I am extremely pleased with you. From today you will possess the knowledge that is like of Indra. You will have no obstruction in the path of austerities and dharma." Saying this, Indra departed. However, the rishi was still angry. His four sons bowed their heads and said, "O father, we are extremely scared of dying. We were distressed. Please pardon us. We love our lives. We are devoted to something one should not be attached to. We are attached to this mass of skin, bones, flesh filled with pus and blood. We have heard how people have confounded by desire and anger and come under strong subjugation of these sins. Wisdom is like a rampart, and bones are giant pillars, and the skin is the large fortification that is plastered with flesh and blood, with sinews at each side as 9 gates. It can make great efforts. King Purusha, the possessor of consciousness, resides there. However, the two ministers, intelligence and the mind, act in different and opposite direction, taking each other to the enemy. They seek to destroy each other. Four enemies seek to destroy the king. They are desire, anger, greed, and confusion. When the king closes the 9 gates, his forces are well protected. Then there is no reason to fear, as the enemy is unable to enter this fortification. As long as there is no attachment, the enemy cannot overcome him. As soon as he opens the gate, he releases the enemy known as attachment, which then attacks the gate formed by the eyes. It courses everywhere, enters through the 5 gates. The 5 gates are 2 ears, 2 nostrils, and 1 mouth. Following this path, 3 terrible enemies enter. After entering the attachment, form an alliance with mind and others, and it becomes extremely difficult to control it and subjugate it. After conquering the gates, the attachment destroys its ramparts. On seeing that the mind is vanquished, the intelligence immediately destroys. He is deprived of his advisors. The citizens abandon him, and enemies search out weakness. Attachment, desire, and anger and confusion destroy the man. As the memory is destroyed, the intelligence is also destroyed, and we were greedy to remain alive. So please have mercy on us, O father, the angry rishi said to his sons. O sons, once I have cursed, it cannot be reversed. Till today, none of my words have rendered false. I think destiny alone is supreme, because with strength and without thinking, I have done what could not have been done. However, you all have bowed down before me and sought my favor. So, even though you will be born as birds, still you will possess the supreme knowledge. The knowledge will show you the path, and all your miseries and sins will be cleansed. Thus the birds told Shamik the truth about their past and how they could speak in the human voice. Then Shamik named them Pingaksha, Vibhoda, Supatra, and Sumukha, and took them to Vindhyas and kept them there. So that was today's story, my friends, from Upanishads and Puranas. So please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. Also, if you want to have a direct conversation with me, please email me at argyathings@gmail.com. Until then,